when you wish upon a star. One night, a somber silence fell over the warm, cozy house of Geppetto the Toy Maker. It was the kind of silence that made the ticking of the old clock on the wall sound unbearably loud. The source of the sadness was clear. Cleo, the pretty little goldfish who brought so much life to the small household, was ill. Her once bright golden scales now looked dull and pale, and she floated limply in her little glass bowl. Her tiny eyes were closed, and her movements were faint, almost non-existent. Geppetto sat at his workbench, his tools untouched. He stared at Cleo with furrowed brows, his usually cheerful demeanor replaced with deep worrying. "She's very ill," he murmured it, his voice heavy with sadness. Pinocchio, the little wooden puppet who had come to life, was perched on a stool near Cleo's bowl. His wooden hands clutched the edge as he gazed at her. "She's getting weaker every minute," he said, his voice trembling. He wanted to help, but didn't know how. Pinocchio tried everything he could think of. He sprinkled a small handful of food into the water, but Cleo didn't even stir. The food floated on the surface untouched, a painful reminder of how ill she truly was. Tears began to trickle down Pinocchio's wooden cheeks, leaving faint trails as they fell. "There must be something we can do," he cried, looking to Geppetto with desperation. Geppetto only shook his head sadly. "If there is, I do not know what it is," he admitted, his hands clasped tightly together, and for a moment the room was filled with nothing but the sound of the ticking clock and the faint swish of the water in Cleo's bowl. Just then, a small yet confident voice broke through the gloom. Now, let's not lose hope." It was Jiminy Cricket, the wise little companion who always seemed to know the right thing to say. He hopped onto the table and straightened his tiny hat. "Remember what I told you, Pinocchio. If you wish upon a star, your dreams can come true." "A star," Pinocchio repeated, his teary eyes lighting up with hope. "That's right," sighed Jiminy, twirling his umbrella. "You just have to believe. Let's find a star and wish for Cleo to be well again." Without wasting a moment, Pinocchio and Jiminy hurried to the door and flung it open. Cold air rushed in, carrying with it a flurry of snowflakes. They stepped outside into the crisp night, their eyes scanning the sky, but their hearts sank. Thick gray clouds covered the heavens, blotting out every star. The snow fell softly, coating the ground in a glistening white blanket, but not a single star could be seen. No stars, Pinocchio whispered, his voice filled with disappointment. Jiminy, however, refused to give up. He stepped forward and pointed his umbrella at the sky. "Hey, you clouds, go away. Do you hear me? Shoo!" he shouted, shaking his tiny fist dramatically. His voice echoed in the stillness of the night. To their astonishment, the clouds began to shift. Slowly but surely, they parted, revealing a deep, midnight blue sky, glittering with countless stars. Among them, one star shone brighter than all the others, its light shimmering like Cleo's golden scales once had. "There it is!" Pinocchio gasped, his wooden heart swelling with hope. "Go on now," Jiminy urged. "Make your wish." Pinocchio clasped his hands together and fixed his gaze on the shining star. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again, his voice trembling with emotion. "I wish for Cleo to be well again," he said softly but firmly, pouring all his love and hope into the words. The star twinkled brightly, as if it had heard him. Its warm light seemed to reach down to the snowy earth, wrapping them in a gentle glow. "Pinocchio, Jiminy, come quickly," Geppetto's voice suddenly called from inside the house. Pinocchio and Jiminy exchanged a glance, their hearts racing as they rushed back inside. They skidded to a halt in front of Cleo's bowl and gasped in unison. Cleo was no longer floating limply. She was darting around the bowl with energy, her fins fluttering gracefully. Her golden scales sparkled once more, catching the light and radiating their usual brilliance. She swam up to the glass, her bright eyes looking at Pinocchio as if to say, "Thank you." "She's better," Pinocchio exclaimed, his face breaking into a wide smile. He tapped gently on the glass, and Cleo swam toward him, her playful spirit fully restored. Geppetto placed a hand on Pinocchio's shoulder, his face beaming with relief and pride. "It's a miracle," he said softly. Jiminy cleared his throat and adjusted his hat. "Well, I did say all it takes is a wish upon a star," he said, puffing out his tiny chest. "And maybe a bit of faith, too." That night, as the snow continued to fall gently outside, the little family gathered together in their warm, cozy home. Cleo swam happily in her bowl, Pinocchio sat close to Geppetto, and Jiminy Cricket stood on the windowsill, gazing up at the star that had made their wish come true. The world outside may have been cold and silent, but inside there was nothing but warmth, love, and the unshakable belief that even in the darkest of times, a little magic and hope could light the way.